Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Sorry that there were no new videos at all last week, but here's what happened. I had originally planned to interview James Jobe, you know, the libertarian that's on my website for an endorsement in a state, Virginia House of Delegates. And, well, I was planning on interviewing him, but unlike my Elijah Manley or Darcy Richardson planned interviews, something on my end came up. And unfortunately, the best day he said was scheduled for Sunday, and, you know, that's like a day before the episode gets to be released. And unfortunately that meant, well, no video at all, because I couldn't just slap something together at last minute. Technically I could have, but I mean, I would have preferred just to have an actual planned video, because I had articles and stuff ready to go just in case, but I was like, no, this interview seems likely to happen, so I'll just delete them all because I don't need them. But then, it turns out I did need them, but they were already gone, so I was like, I'll just not post a video this week. But I mean, I made up for it in some regard, not just for this video and the educational one that's going to be like later in the week, but I also recorded a thing, like a talk with Niall Elkim from a web series called Niall Elkim versus the World. Niall Elkim versus the World. He's another progressive news type guy, usually focusing on just him and another person. You know, he interviewed the likes of Steve Cox, Summer Miller, who's a congressional candidate, I think. Yeah. And, you know, he interviewed the Hill of Roses. And I'm gonna leave a link or a tag somewhere in my, like somewhere in this video for that chat, so you can, you know, go watch that, and, you know, you might like it. Or not. It's not his fault, it's mine, because I don't know. But anyways, okay, so in that episode we talk a bit about like spoiler effect with Perot, because I always try to find a way to smuggle third parties somewhat into my videos. Any video I'm in, anyway, talk a little bit about the debates, which is spoilers, the thing I'm going to be talking about here, but I guess I'll be going more in depth and, you know, it'll just be my reactions, because I don't think we went over everything. We just went over some of the bare basics, but anyways, I've staggered along long enough. So let's get right into the news. Pedro Pierluisi was sworn in as Puerto Rico's governor. His opponents are still questioning his legitimacy. So I don't know if I went over the story, like all of it, but for those who don't know, like, Puerto Rico was having a huge controversy with its governor, Puerto Rico's governor, Ricardo. Pretty much he made like a lot of racist and sexist and homophobic chats. Some of his private staff in a private Facebook chat. And that led to a lot of people, you know, getting mad, especially considering the most prominent person that he targeted in this was Carmelina Yulín Cruz, the Puerto Rican woman who's a mayor of San Juan and is currently a co-chair of the Bernie campaign. So, like, everybody was going after him for that and saying, like, Ricky renuncia, you know, Ricky resign. And he did, and now. He actually, I think his resignation was scheduled for it was scheduled for September, but I guess they were able to pressure him to push it up way earlier, because like I said, it was supposed to be in September, but lo and behold, he's resigned now. So I would say, it's more than likely that, and I mean, I guess there was also a lot of controversy with the current administration, because it's weird. I frequently go to Our Campaigns, which is a website where you just list all the political races and candidates. The weird thing is he was appointed Secretary of State and the successor for the governorship at the same time. Well, at least on the same day, or in at least the same week. So I have concerns, but I don't know entirely the situation, as I don't live in Puerto Rico, and I'm not entirely focused on their gubernatorial race, because their gubernatorial race is actually up for election in 2020, and Carmelene Cruz is actually running in that gubernatorial race. So it's kind of interesting to an extent. But anyways, here's a story that's actually kind of late into the game, but it's something that was important because it happened before the first debate. Not this is the first debate, the second debate. Bernie Sanders took Americans to Canada to prove a point. 2 days before the second Democratic presidential debates, Senator Bernie Sanders bussed roughly a dozen Americans across the border from Detroit to Windsor to prove his point. They went to buy insulin at 1/10 of the price it sold in the United States. Sanders, holding up a vial of insulin outside a Canadian pharmacy, surrounded by Americans struggling to stay alive and pay the bills, decried greed, corruption, and corporate profiteering. The vial would cost around $340 in the United States, but it was $36 over the counter at Windsor, the result of more vigorous government price controls. Sanders said pharmaceutical executives who price fix drugs should go to jail. Because they should. There's nothing really else to say. He proves a point, just point blank. It's cheaper drugs in Canada because they have a single-payer system. The government actually has a direct hand in the healthcare industry. It's not for profit. It's just to get the people to be healthier. And, that's plain and simple. Especially considering Martin Shkreli. You might not remember the story of Martin Shkreli, but he was this rich asshole who he ran a drug company, and he had a drug called Daraprim, and it was very it was just a pretty useful drug, and it had a lot of positive effects. One day, the average price, the price of one pill was $13.50. Because that's just how it usually is. The patent for the drug had expired, and there was no generic version, so that was the only version. So the price was just $13.50. But then one day he was literally just now it's $750 per pill. It's wait, what? And, well, pretty much every single presidential candidate criticized them. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, everybody was going against him because you couldn't defend what he was doing. Even if you were in the pocket of the health control of the health industry, you couldn't say, oh, this price gouging asshole, he's good. And then he went to congressional hearing and was I refuse to answer that question. He was questioned, and he just kept saying he refused to answer the question. And, well, it was terrible. Here's what happened. It was literally like a Democrat was like, dude, do you realize what you did? You're dumb. Do you have anything to say for yourself? I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. And it wasn't until one member of Congress said, what's your name? Martin Shkreli. See, that didn't incriminate you. But anyways, speaking of Republicans, House GOP fears retirement wave will lead to tsunami. House Republicans plotting to win back their majority in Congress fear that they are at the brink of a massive wave of retirements that could force them to play a defense in high-stakes presidential election. That was from an older version of the article that I was going to do last week. But here's a more updated version that explains that 6 Republicans in the House have announced that they won't be running for re-election. The most prominent one being Will Hurd, the only black Republican in Congress. And that's not necessarily going good for any of you, because when you're trying to win your majority back, the best option is to not have your people resign. At least that's what I would say. For the most part, I'd say, having your having your candidates just not retire so that you can be strong when you try to get your majority back. That's probably the best move. Okay, so this next story is kind of more of a speculative story, but I guess it's also a bit newsworthy. Longtime Hickenlooper aide registers domain name for Senate run. Former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper is still a presidential candidate, but many politicals in Colorado want him to be a Senate candidate to challenge Senator Cory Gardner in 2020. Curtis Hubbard is one of them. Hubbard is a longtime Hickenlooper associate who has counseled the 2-term governor in the past. Hubbard registered a list of domain names earlier this week, including hickforsenate.com. Now, when I first heard the story, I originally thought that Hickenlooper had actually made the smart decision and had given up. But it turns out, no, he's still in the presidential race. It's just one of his aides that has decided that they want him to run for Senate. But, I 100% say that, it's weird. It's weird. I wouldn't endorse him if he ran for Senate. But I'm just saying, if he were smart, he would run for Senate. For a majority of reasons. The biggest reason being the fact that Senate seat, Colorado, is what's considered the second most competitive Senate seat of the election. It says, I was reading, some thing about the election, it is the, second most competitive of the race. The only one that I think is more competitive is, not even just competitive, but not just in the sense of, a lot of people are running and all this other stuff, but it's competitive in the sense that it has a high chance of flipping. And, well, aside from Alabama, it is the most likely to just flip. I don't really like Doug Jones, so I wouldn't personally miss him. And it's a fact that everybody could see from a mile away, because Doug Jones literally got his seat just because he was running against an accused pedophile. And the worst part is, in some election polls, the accused pedophile is actually winning against him in a hypothetical rematch. So, we'll see how that plays out when that bridge is crossed. If it gets crossed again. Roy Moore's running again, so it could potentially happen again. So anyways, now, here comes 2020 Watch. the update of the 2020 elections. First is the saddest news of them all. Well, not the saddest news of them all, but a sad news story. Mike Gravel ends his unorthodox Twitter campaign for the presidency. Mike Gravel, the quirky 89-year-old former senator from Alaska, is shutting down his campaign for the presidential nomination of the Democratic Party. He's just... he's not running. He's just given up. His whole presidential election was... his whole campaign was based on getting in the debates so that he could, push the Democratic Party to the left. Lo and behold, that didn't end up happening. So he couldn't even do his one thing that he wanted to do. That was his one goal. And it didn't end up happening. Stinks, but, when the party just kind of stacks all their cards against you, you're not really gonna... there's really not much you can do. Now, the biggest question that has popped up from this is endorsements. Gravel has kind of made it pretty clear that he's going to be endorsing somebody, but the thing is, we don't entirely know who yet. Now, Wikipedia and the mainstream media have not the mainstream media, but anybody who wants to cover the Gravel candidacy kind of considers him doing a try endorsement, because he said that out of all of the current candidates that are currently running, the three that he likes the most so far is Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, and Elizabeth Warren, which is now my top three because Gravel's out. But his team has officially stated that it is not an endorsement yet. It is more of a point my finger in the direction of who could potentially be the candidates that I endorse. They haven't fully announced an endorsement quite yet. They've even stated that Tulsi Gabbard has actually approached them for an endorsement, to which I think technically it would be best for him to endorse Bernie, because Bernie's got the most likely chance out of all of them. But we're gonna have to wait and see who he ends up endorsing. My money is he's gonna endorse Bernie, but it's also likely to say... it's also very likely that he could endorse Tulsi, just because in a lot of interviews he has stated that he does admire Tulsi to an extent, and Tulsi is kind of the Gravel of this race. Bernie's like the Kucinich, and I guess technically Gravel would be the Tulsi. But anyways, speaking of 2020 watch, another Democrat is speculated to run for president in 2020. Michael Avenatti. No, that's all you're getting, because I don't give a shit about Michael Avenatti. I don't. He announced this today. I don't care. Seriously, I legitimately do not care. That's all you're getting. Michael Avenatti is trying to, tease everybody with saying, oh, I may jump in the presidential ring. No, dude. Even if you were fucking Jesus Christ, or the guy who says, I will snap my fingers and make everybody live happy ever after, I don't care, because you are not going to win. We have 24 candidates. Stacey has been saying that she's gonna run in fucking September. There's no room for any candidates. Even you, Stacey. Fuck off, Stacey. I don't care. Just go away. No more candidates. That's it. We're done. No more candidates. You can run for the Green Party, you can run for the Libertarian Party, but you just can't run for the Democratic Party because nobody wants you to run anymore. Alright. Now with that out of the way, let's go on to the smaller candidate of the day, First, I'm gonna do. It's not first, but like I'm gonna do a guy called Richard Lyons Weil. He is someone who was run for president in 2016 and I believe 2012 for the Democratic nomination, and he's also currently running for the Democratic Party nomination. He's running as a progressive and obviously a small one. So let's just go over his basic platform planks. He wants a $22 living wage. $22, not $20, not $15, $22. Income tax of 70%, income over $3 million. Free education from birth to death. Turning correction intervention to therapeutic intervention. You know, the war on drugs is bad. We treat guns like automobiles, license the operator, register the gun, and provide proof of insurance. Single-payer healthcare system, Medicare for all. Focus on maternal healthcare, economic equality for women. End bigotry, we are all created equal. Support immigration, the pillars of America. Promote 100% sustainable and renewable energy. End war, seek diplomacy over combat. Secure and protect your right to vote. You know, basic progressive stuff, so there's not really much to say other than that. We got the basics. And I don't even 100% know if he's currently running, because his campaign social media has kind of been barren for a little bit. So we'll have to see if he makes it to the lesser known candidates for him. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get to the main topic of this video. The debates. Now, the debates were interesting, like the first two. These debates were... Look, first of all, let me give you a slight reminder on, who was on each night. The first night, July 30th, had our revolutionary Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth C. I'm best friends with Bernie Sanders like Tulsi Gabbard Warren, gay best friend Pete Buttigieg, Robert O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar, John Hickenlooper the Serial, Tim, I can't believe I'm not Sherrod Ryan, John, I've been running for president since 2017, why aren't you taking me seriously, Delaney, Orb Mom, Marianne Williamson, and Steve, Eric, pass the torch to me, Bullock. Night 2 consists of creepy Uncle Joe, Cop Mala Harris, Diet Obama Cory Booker, Hispanic Obama Julian Castro, Andrew I ain't gay but $1,000 is $1,000 Yang, Nico House's favorite candidate Tulsi Gabbard, elected SJW Kirsten Gillibrand, Jay we're gonna die in 15 years Inslee, Michael I had prostate cancer but I'm still running anyways, I'm not running for any malicious reasons Bennett, and Yeti Man that killed a groundhog Bill de Blasio. That last one you can actually look up. He did kill a groundhog. He probably killed a groundhog. I think he may have killed a groundhog. So yeah, he probably killed a groundhog. Anyways, I think it'd just be best to go over just who I thought won the debates, who I thought lost the debates, and, just give my general thoughts on why that is. Because there were some things that I'm kind of like, oh, I guess technically they did alright, but I didn't really see much. But anyways, I guess they did alright. But anyways, let's just get into it. Now, unlike last time, I think I'm actually gonna... I don't know if I did the losers first, but for this one, I'm definitely probably gonna do the losers first. So, the first loser I see for the night is John Hickenlooper. Because, well, John Hickenlooper had a very interesting exchange with Bernie, which was interesting, and I'm going to play the audio of that.
I think if we're going to force Americans to make these radical changes, they're not going to go along. You throw your hands up, but you haven't... Whoa, I can do it!
So, they were having an argument over health care, And then Bernie just did the whole, like, you know when you get fed up with someone, you're just like, ugh, and you raise your hands up in the air? He's like, go ahead, throw your hands up. And he's like, okay. And then everyone just was happy and cheering because, I'm not going to get into that part yet because I'm going to wait for that until the end. Now, that is one of the biggest contributing factors to why I think Hickenlooper lost, because he just happened to get in the way of this big, like, slap in the face. I don't remember. Let me look back. Oh, he also did, like, very terrible on, like, foreign policy. Let me see. How many? Yeah, like, it says right here. I only put, like, a little bit of notes on Hickenlooper. Like, Hickenlooper tried to get the moderators to try and dogpile on Bernie, and it didn't really pan out. So, he just pretty much didn't do that hot through the entire night. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really have Hickenlooper on the list to begin with. But, I mean, I was watching some other people who were making videos on this, and I'm like, I guess technically, yeah, it does make sense that that he lost the debate. I think it makes sense, pretty much, yeah. The next person that I think lost was someone that was pretty much universally considered the loser of this debate. And that is Tim Ryan. Technically, he's not the loser of the debate. He just happened to suffer the worst blow of the night. And I think we all know what it is, but I'm going to play it anyways because it's just so perfect.
Two things. They will be better because Medicare for All is comprehensive. It covers all healthcare needs for senior citizens. It will finally include dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses.
But you don't know.
Second of all.
You don't know that,
Second
Bernie.
of all.
We'll come to you in a second,
I do know
Congressman.
it. I wrote the damn bill. Second of all.
Moment of silence to honor Tim Kaine. He's co-sponsored every single Medicare for All bill since 2007 and is currently a member of the Medicare for All caucus. But he's just like, nope, I won't have Medicare for All. This fucking hypocrite. He's a hypocrite. He's a liar. He's a con artist. He's a moderate. We can't have those in Washington. So, yeah. Tim Ryan pretty much got fucking murdered. And I'm 100% okay with that. Surprisingly, I really don't care about Tim Ryan. If he doesn't drop out, he's clearly just trying to split the vote in Ohio. But anyways, the biggest loser of the night, I think, is pretty obvious. That would be John Delaney. Because the weirdest thing is, for some reason, he was the moderator that they kept going to for questions. Like, Warren would say something, or Bernie would say something, and then they'd be like, Delaney, what is your response? Which, I mean, to be fair, I guess is good. He's been running since 2017. Might as well get this notoriety somehow. So, I guess technically he kind of deserves the attention. Especially considering, unlike most of the other moderates, he doesn't have an election that he could hypothetically just run to. Like Hickenlooper has. He has a lot of elections he could hypothetically go to if they wanted to. But Delaney just so happened to miss his mark because Maryland had its Senate race and its gubernatorial race last election season in the 2018 midterms. So you're not really going to go anywhere with this. He only has this presidential campaign, and as we all know, it's not going anywhere. He's not going to be the nominee, even if he... there's really no way he's going to be the nominee. So all the Delaney supporters, Mom Delaney and son Delaney, might as well just pack up their bags now and go to another corporatist like Kamala or something. And the next category I usually have is like a semi-winner category. Someone who did well but didn't like win the debate. They like did well and are probably going to get some notoriety in some regard, but they're not really going to get too much notoriety. They're going to get enough notoriety to win, like not win. You're going to get enough notoriety to just be notable and not just be a nobody, but they're definitely not going to win. They're not going to win the election anytime soon. The only person that I think got in that category for night 2 is one that a lot of people aren't entirely sure. Marianne Williamson. Because here's the thing. Marianne Williamson did incredibly well for the debate. She was focused more on policy than ever before. She even like called out CNN. Like at one point they said like, hey, like, okay, Marianne, we're gonna be moving on to the next question now. And she's like, all right, but you better come back to me this time. And it's like, oh damn, she got you. But it's not really gonna. It's not like Marianne's gonna get like the biggest win of the election. But apparently she was one of the most looked up candidates for night 1. And I guess, it works well for her. And of course, the biggest category of the night is the winners. Who do I think won the debate? The answer is really simple. It was pretty much... the two winners of this debate are very simple. Elizabeth Warren. Because Elizabeth Warren was pushing really hard on the progressive left agenda. She was attacking Delaney. She was pimp-slapping pretty much all of the other guys. And, of course, the biggest winner of the night was Bernie Sanders. Because he's got the most progressive chops out of all of them. Warren's got progressive chops, but she doesn't have as much progressive chops as Bernie. Especially when a lot of these policies are from Bernie's handbook. When pretty much all of your stuff is from the handbook of one of your rivals, you're really the one who it came from first is definitely going to be more notable than the person who's parroting it. And, Bernie just... the biggest thing that made Bernie win this night is because Warren was more reserved. She did have her moments, but she was more reserved. Whereas Bernie just freaking pulled his claws out and was like, and like a rabid cat, and was mauling everybody on stage. The only person he left was Elizabeth Warren, because they were obviously trying to show because the mainstream media was painting oh, it's gonna be Bernie versus Warren and Beto versus Buttigieg. These are the two big matchups that you want to see tonight. But nobody really cared. Nobody really cared at all. The most people actually wanted to see was if Bernie or Warren would attack each other or they would be allies with each other. And it looks like they chose the latter because I think both of them are really kind of hoping one of them is going to be the VP. A lot of people have these weird conspiracies that Bernie and Tulsi's campaigns are secretly collaborating. If that's the case, then Warren has to be in on it. Because it's like with Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard didn't attack Warren for voting for the War Machine at the debate that they were at. And Bernie didn't attack Warren for not endorsing him. They're clearly on the same side. It's no shit. They're all on the same side as far as I know. But I guess technically You could make arguments slightly that, like, I really don't understand this whole civil war between, like, oh, Tulsi running with Bernie is gonna be good because she's gonna win Hawaii and she's gonna give her delegates to Bernie. She's running as Bernie's ally, but then they're like, no, Warren is actually running to take the votes away from Bernie so that she cannot win the election. It's like, why is this just, it's stupid. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I mean, you could, if you had someone who was more logical, they could probably explain it to me better, but I never really get it. They always seem to think like Tulsi and Warren can do the exact same thing, and for some reason, Warren is still going to come out with hate for some reason. To be fair, Tulsi also gets a considerable amount of hate. Like, in this whole Tulsi v. Warren civil war, I'm kind of like a dirty fence sitter. And I don't, like, I say to people who, in my view, the person who says that Warren isn't a progressive but Tulsi is, and the person who says that Warren's a progressive but Tulsi isn't, they're the same person to me. You could make arguments saying, oh, Tulsi's more progressive than Warren, which I would say, yes, you're correct. You could make arguments saying, Warren is more progressive than Tulsi, and I'd say, you're full of shit, but here's why you're full of shit. You could make arguments for the two, but you can't just say one isn't and one is. That'd be stupid. But I mean, what do I know? Just a guy with a silly YouTube channel. Anyways, then we're going to move on to night 2, because it's pretty much all the interesting stuff I had to say for night 1. Because, I mean, to be honest, that's all night 1 really had. Just Bernie bitch slapping pretty much every candidate. So, yeah. We'll move on to the next one. The losers of night 2. The one thing that, weird, when I was on Niall Elkin's show, he said that Gillibrand did well, and I'm like, what? No. I think that Gillibrand did terrible. Gillibrand, in my view, was the most insufferable candidate, one of the most insufferable candidates on the stage. Because the thing is, she came off like if she was like super feminist SJW in the last debate she was in, this one, she should have had like blue hair, a shirt that said like non-binary, gender fluid, pansexual or whatever. She definitely, if she like dyed her hair, got some piercings, identified as gender fluid or something, she would have been like you could have just plopped her in the middle of a college and she would have sounded the exact same. Like, you're bad because you're a straight white male. Ew. It's just so bad. It just doesn't, and like, there's this one stupid line that I really hated through the entire debate that just made me like, this is so fucking terrible. Like, she said like this, like, the first thing I'm gonna do when I get into the White House is to Kleenex the Oval Office. So funny, so hilarious. I am just rolling on the floor laughing with that. That's just the pinnacle of comedy right there, my friends. It's just so insufferable. And she did do some decent jobs in like calling out for stupid things, but the weird thing is, like, there's just one part where I guess technically Biden did alright by calling out Gillibrand, but it just seemed like he stumbled, like she said, you said this bad quote, and he was like, you still said this bad quote, you used to like me, but now you hate me, now you're running for president, why you hate me now, and it's like, just so insufferable. These two are just losers. The next loser is Michael Bennett. Because Michael Bennett pretty much, like Elizabeth Warren during the debate, she said, like, it's amazing that Delaney can run for president and, like, just say the things that we can't do. And that's pretty much all Bennett was saying. Like, we can't, like, make immigration less harsh, because if we do, then more immigrants will come over the border. We can't make everyone have health care, because if we don't, everyone will have health care. We can't impeach Donald Trump because, I mean, to be fair, I'm on the side that actually just say we shouldn't really focus on impeachment at the moment. Impeachment, I'm saying we as if I'm a Democrat. That's hilarious. Like, but impeachment isn't really necessary to do at the moment because it's a presidential election. And, like, it's a presidential election, and it's like again, it's a presidential election, and it's like way too late. It's like the second to last year of his term. What are you gonna do? It's like expelling a student on the last day of school. You don't have to do that. It's not necessary. Or it's like if your shop is about to close and then you're like, it's my last day. What are you gonna do? Fire me? Like again, it's like it's not much you can do. All you'd literally be doing is replacing him with Pence, and Pence is just more of a traditional conservative, which a lot more people would probably vote for. I mean, he'd lose probably like the Midwestern voter, but they were probably gonna lose anyway if the progressives won the Democratic nomination. But anyways, I'm more on the side of Bennett on the impeachment issue, but I do think that there was like one exchange with like Michael Bennett and Julian Castro that was really good. It was like they both were on different sides of the immigration issue. Julian Castro saying like, if we don't impeach him, Donald Trump is gonna say, hey, we're just gonna, like, they didn't try to impeach me because, you know, there was nothing wrong. And then, you know, Bennett says, like, if we do impeach him, he'll just have Mitch McConnell say, yeah, no impeachment. And then he'll be like, see, Congress exonerated me. I win. They're really damned if they do, damned if they don't. Which, if they didn't put this stupid Russiagate nonsense, then none of this would have happened. But anyways, the biggest loser of the night was obviously Joe Biden. It's just a no-brainer. I kind of contemplated putting Kamala on the list, but I think she did enough to push herself on, you know, it did enough to push him into the push her into the, like, just their moment. Because her and Biden, she was trying all night to try and repeat that whole gotcha moment to Biden, but it didn't really pan out. It didn't do well. She just kept falling flat, pretty much. And that's just pretty much that. There's not much to say about it in that regard, because there's really nothing, because he just stinks, and, well, when you're bad candidates, you're just not really gonna do well. Now, the next category is, of course, the semi-winners category. The ones who I don't really think are gonna go anywhere, but, you know, they did alright. The first one in this category would be Jay Inslee. a lot of people were saying like Jay Inslee did amazing during this debate, and even Cenk Uygur declaring Jay Inslee the winner of this debate, which I'm like, Cenk, Jay did alright, but I mean, again, he barely made it on as well. I really don't think that he did that well in some regards. Like, really in any regards, pretty much. But, I mean, he did decent on climate change, but it's a thing that there was one problem I had with him tonight that he also did, like, in the previous debate he was in. He loves to, like, deflect to other issues. There's one, like, in this one, he deflects on, like, he talks well on climate change, of course, but then at one point he talks about, I forget what the main issue was, and then Jay was just like, none of this would happen if we didn't have the filibuster. And it's like, okay, Jay, but that wasn't really what we're talking about. Now, of course, a certain other candidate just kind of did that for every issue. He would always deflect back to his one, and I'm going to deflect it to, and I'm going to make that sound like a positive. But I mean, with Jay, it seems like he's really unfocused on the debate. Because, like in the last one, he even went out so far as to say, like, I'm the only candidate on this stage that has defended a woman's right to choose. It's like, Klobuchar got you on that one, boy. But Jay did alright. The second one in this category is Cory Booker. Now, Booker, again, is also a candidate I was actually, like, saying, I don't really see why everyone was saying he did well. But, I mean, after watching the Humanist Report explain, like, Cory, like, doing the whole dunking in the Kool-Aid and doing better of a pimp slap to Biden than Kamala did, I'm thinking, like, yeah, alright, I guess. Technically, he did a decent job. My biggest problem, of course, was with the whole Mueller grandstanding, and I think he was, like, saying, like, there's one part where he was, like, he just openly said, like, Russia or something. Some part of it, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of a different night, or it was something like that. Something stupid, like, he's like, Russia, but something weird like that. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have on the Cory Booker thing. I guess he did decent. He did good enough. It might give him like a bump, but I don't think it's really going to do well. Now, the last one in this category is someone who I think did the best, but will be hindered by a certain thing. Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio did what he did best. The whole, he just called out everyone on the stage. Pretty much every corporatist, he just called them out. He did the whole Mike Gravel thing that Gravel wanted to do. But of course he didn't get to do because she didn't get to be on the debate. But anyways, he just did that and was doing well. Like, he called out Biden on, what's it say here? Like, he pwned Bennett. Like, in his opening statement, he called out Biden and Kamala. Like, he just kept going on everybody because, oh yeah, and the biggest one here, he actually calls out Biden on the Obama deportations. And that was a really good thing, because everybody likes to talk about the whole, hey, Trump deporting is bad, but they ignore the whole Obama deportations. De Blasio is showing, like, he at least is going to acknowledge the deportations. Like, even if he doesn't 100% say, like, I don't know exactly what he said in certain regards, but I know he did, like, just call Obama out and Biden. And that was also a lead into some of Cory Booker stuff, like how he's always like, Obama is my best friend. I love Obama. But then like, in the deportations, and Corey's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't just be like, he's good here, but he's bad here, and blah, blah, blah. But de Blasio is, of course, hindered by one major thing: the protests. I didn't exactly know what the protests were about, because I couldn't hear what they were saying, because it was like... But I found out later that the protests were about Eric Garner, and the fact that the police officer that murdered him is still on the force. And, when you're saying that you're one of the most progressive candidates on the stage, it doesn't really help that you haven't fired the police chief. And apparently de Blasio did look kind of like, ugh, I'm a deer in headlights. But, otherwise he did fine. And I think he did fire the chief, just recently. So, you could argue, he's at least listening to his constituents. And now, on to the last two. I don't know exactly who of these two won, but I'm just going to say it's a tie, because it's easier that way. First, Andrew Yang. I guess technically Yang is a decent second, because really there was no winner. I didn't really feel like there was a definable winner. Andrew Yang, he did well because of the time that he had, because he did still have the least amount of time of all the candidates. He used that time to plug UBI, and just plug UBI, and clearly didn't cut his mic this time, so, he at the very least didn't have to get into any of the big controversies and stuff. Which, his whole plan was literally just to be on the same stage as Joe Biden, so it clearly worked. People know who he is now. But of course, the one who is considered the winner of the night is good old Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard was just going in on foreign policy, going all in on Kamala Harris, going all in on, a lot of the candidates, going in, but just policy and Kamala. Those were two things, policy Kamala, policy Kamala, policy Kamala. And you can clearly tell that Kamala was not interested, because when she was criticized by Tulsi, she was like, wait, what? I didn't know this was another person on the stage. I didn't know that this was a person that was actually going to debate me on the topics. I thought I was just a shoo-in for this election. I thought I was just going to pimp slap Biden and win. Oh no, I can't do this. So, she ended up doing really well. And I declare Tulsi the definitive winner of Night 2, probably. That's pretty much all I have to say in regards to the debate, because, again, Night 2 was very disinteresting. Here's to Night 3. Not Night 3, Debate 3. We'll see who makes it this round of the debates. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report. Who do you think won the debate? Comment something.